Okay, so this is my homemade pine, and this represents more of a like fir or a hemlock. And so you don't want the whole cone shape that you see in most artificial pine trees, especially those winter trees. This is more of a very wild kind of unpruned hemlock or fir, and these look very nice on the game table. And you can see I used hot glue to do the roots on the base, and I used tinfoil for the bark. You do not have to do this. You can skip this and just use your hot glue gun and very carefully making the bark texture. So if you didn't want to use tinfoil, you can easily get burned trying to wrap the tinfoil around the wire that's here. So to make trees like this, you need a wooden kind of craft wood. I get these at Walmart in packs. And you need some floral wire. You also need some thicker, this is 16 gauge wire that I found in the bead making section of Walmart. And an old comb, some twine, and of course tinfoil if you want to use it for the bark. Now I will have a future video on how I actually make this, but basically you're making like a bristle brush, and then you can take your scissor after and kind of prune it a little bit if you want a little bit of that cone shape. I left it very like irregular and wild looking on the bottom. Now this is not finished, because then you take a nice green spray paint and you spray the whole thing in green, this lower part, and then you take your homemade flock, you spray some glue on this, some spray glue, and you take your flock and you fill it with the flock. Now you can also fill some of these holes with craft moss if you wanted to, make it real lush, and then flock everything. And once you put your spray glue and your flocking, it's going to really stiffen up. So that's it, folks. This is a hemlock, and I'm going to make another one of these, a shorter one. And maybe I'll use that opportunity to make a video and show you guys how I make this kind of tree. And it certainly falls into our theme of trees for this week. Okay, so here is my hemlock tree, homemade, all finished up, and it's flocked. It has to dry a little more, and it'll stiffen more and more as it dries. But you notice the base has the roots, and I did a little bit of dry brushing there with a lighter brown. Here, there is the tinfoil bark for the tree, and a little bit of brighter flock to represent grasses. But there you go, there's a view of it, and it's right next to one of my homemade oaks, or whatever you want to call that. It doesn't really matter the kind of tree. For us gamers, we don't really care if it's a hemlock or a fir, you know, or an oak or a maple. That's really not what counts. What this does is it just gives variation to my table, to my forest, whenever I'm doing a table that has forest in it. And I mix these homemade pine trees with some of the stuff that I bought in a store. And I got these in a pack of 12. And if I want to make these summery, I just spray paint it in a mossy green like that, and it takes away the snow. If I want to make this a wintry hemlock, then I just spray some buffalo snow. And this is last year's can, and it's almost full still. So just spray some of that, spray some glue on it, and then spray some of that snow, and it makes a wintry tree. Now, in order to flock the tree, you have to use Loctite spray adhesive, right? And that's what I used on the rope in the prior film. You saw the like rope hemlock. Just kind of sprayed it all, and then used my homemade flock, and this is my evergreen shade. It's a very dark green, and then I added a little bit of brighter green, right? And I'm gonna need to make another batch. And that's how I got my tree nice and green, nice and dark, the way pine trees are usually dark. And then once all finished, I spray it with some Mod Podge spray to seal it up. I let it dry, and it's nice and durable. And then this I usually put in a special storage bin that I have for these kinds of terrain pieces. And these last, I've had trees like this one last me 4 years. And now this one just needs a little bit of flocking on the vegetation parts here. So I'll show more and more homemade vegetation. I make a lot of different things, from cacti to palm trees to hedges, grasses, anything like that. I make in order to decorate my bases. So there you go, folks. There is my homemade fir tree or hemlock, and it looks really cool. So have a good day, folks. We'll talk soon.